As we discussed before, the private networks are one of the opportunities for 5G industry and a huge sector that can benefit from the use cases and the features provided by the 5G, like the massive machine type communication and the huge number of machines, devices, and sensors that can be connected to the network, and the high battery lifetime, and also the features of ultra low latency and the extreme data rates. So 5G technology can be seen as an important technology for industrial IoT and the private networks. So it is very important for the development and for the different use cases in private networks. The private networks use cases is flexible to either using licensed, unlicensed, dedicated, or shared spectrum. So what is the benefit of having 5G for private network? So bringing the 5G and using it for private network can produce actual gains in productivity, economic growth, and other benefits to the industries which are using the 5G, which are trying to make use of the benefits offered by the 5G, like the real-time communication, the extreme data rates, and the huge number of machines and devices connected to the networks at the same time. So the operators can provide customized private network for each industry or for each company which is asking to have a private network, either focusing on the ultra low latency or focusing on the extreme data rates, or even focusing on having a massive machine type communication, for example, in a factory or in a port. We are discussing here the 5G challenges to the mobile operators. So from the operator side, they want to understand what are the challenges and the requirements before planning and implementing the 5G network. There are actually many challenges that will be facing the mobile operator whenever they want to deploy and implement a 5G network. And we will mention here some of those requirements and some of those challenges. So the first challenge is that the mobile operator network operations will require expertise and knowledge in building and operating the network, as this will be important to the success of the 5G network. Beyond providing network services, the mobile operator should be able to develop and operate the new IoT services and the new concepts like the slicing and edge computing. So this is one of the biggest challenges that will be facing the operator in case they want to deploy a 5G network. One important aspect for mobile operators that should be considered is that the implementation of 5G network while keeping 3G and 4G network will likely trigger a new challenge for them regarding the availability of frequencies in the spectrum, especially if a massive volume of IoT and a huge number of devices will be connected to the network. One of the important challenges for the operator whenever they want to deploy a 5G network is that they need to consider not to be late in entering the market, to be ahead of competition, and to make use of the early benefits of applying the 5G in the network. And finally, the mobile operators will need to operate a new spectrum in the 6 to 300 GHz range, the typical 5G bandwidths, which means massive investments in the network infrastructure and in licensing spectrum that should add cost to the operator and should be planned in case the operator want to analyze the return on investment. Now for the end user or for the consumer, what are the benefits of 5G for the customers and for the end users? We need to understand what will be the reflection and the impact on the end user of mobile networks which are using 5G networks. First of all, you should understand that 5G for consumers means not just a faster mobile internet, but mainly internet connectivity in many more devices and sensors than what you see today. The second benefit for the end user is related to the IoT or Internet of Things applications. Here, the car and the house are two examples of the big IoT revolution coming ahead, supported by 5G networks. Also, the ultra-low latency in using of different network services is an example of the benefits to the end user related to the healthcare sector, for example, or the other applications which are requiring low latency like the self-driving cars. On the other side, different vendors and suppliers already started to introduce the 5G smartphones, and 5G phones are already commercially available in the market. How fast is the 5G deployment can happen? To answer this question, you need to understand that there are many factors that will affect the number of 5G deployments across the world. And you need to understand also that the deployment and adoption rate for 5G differs drastically from all previous mobile generations like 3G and 4G. And the answer for this difference is related to the technology, because in the previous technology it was driven by the mobile internet usage and the availability of the different killer applications. But in 5G, it is expected to be mainly driven by the new Internet of Things and low latency use cases, such as connected cars, such as the self-driving cars, the smart homes, smart cities, and different use cases and applications that we have already explained before. If we need to have a look on the numbers of connected devices, you can see here is an estimate from November 2019. So you can see that we are expecting that we can reach 235 million devices connected to the 5G in 2021. In 2023, we are expecting to have 1.2 billions of connected devices and sensors to the 5G network. And then by 2025, we are expecting that we will reach 2.45 billion of connected devices to the 5G network. Of course, the number of connected devices and the number of 5G users across the world is different from physical location or from geographical location to another. So we can see that North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific are the highest, and then we have the Middle East and Latin America.